Well, we've made it through questions 1 through 15, and now we are down to the vocabulary. If I can find my cursor here. All right, let's go down to the vocabulary. Okay, this is the first time you've seen me gone through a vocabulary review class. I want to let you know, when I do vocabulary, I do not read the word in the vocabulary words and then try to find the definition, because it takes me too long. I find myself reading through this list over and over again. So I would rather start with the definitions and figure out which word this definition is defining. So let's do that. Letter A. A measure of the space inside a two-dimensional shape in square units. Remember, class? A measure of the space. That means if we have a shape, we're looking at the space inside of that shape, and that is talking about area. So letter A is area, and area happens to be our first word. So far, so good. Letter B, a two-dimensional grid with an x-axis and a y-axis. I've got x-axis and a y-axis. That clearly is defining a coordinate plane. So letter B is a coordinate plane. There's coordinate plane. We've got the letter B. Let's change colors now to the next one. Next, let's cross that one out because we're done. Letter C. Lines that have the same slope. Well, I know that lines that have the same slope are parallel. So let's take a look for parallel. There we go. Number 3 is parallel. It's going to be C. Letter D. The point that is located halfway between 2 points. Well, that is a midpoint. We know the midpoint is halfway between 2 points, and midpoint is number 7, so number 7 is letter D. Letter E. Letter E. Lines that have opposite reciprocal slopes. Opposite reciprocal slopes is a definition of perpendicular lines. So letter E must be perpendicular. Here is number 4. Letter E is perpendicular. Letter F. That's an equation, class, and that sure looks to me like the distance formula. Just something you should know, the distance formula. So letter F is distance formula. There it is as number 6. There is F. Cross that out. Okay, letter G. Letter G, x sub 1 plus x sub 2 over 2, y sub 1 plus y sub 2 over 2. That is the midpoint formula. So midpoint formula. Make sure you don't mark that as the midpoint. The midpoint is defined as the point halfway. And in fact, we should just write this. This is distance formula, not the definition of distance, but it's the distance formula. So G is the midpoint formula. So midpoint formula is right there. Oh, that's funny. I already put D in midpoint formula. So you see, class, I already made that same mistake that I just pointed out to myself. Let's get rid of that. It is not letter D wasn't midpoint formula. Letter D was the definition of midpoint. And it looks like I did that for distance formula as well. Nope, I'm okay with that one. So G is the midpoint formula, which is right here. Let's check our other answers real quick. F was distance formula. That was good. Okay, so we're good with this. Okay, letter H. Y sub 2 minus y sub 1 over x sub 2 minus x sub 1. That is the formula for slope. That's the slope formula. And let's take a look. That's number 8. Slope formula is H. All right. Getting to the end. Letter I. A measure of the distance around. The distance around a two-dimensional shape in units. So we have a shape, class. We're looking for the measure of all the sides of that shape added up. That's the distance around. And that is the definition of perimeter. So I is perimeter. And let's make sure. I like doing it this way, class, because when I get to J, if J doesn't match the word that I have left, I've got a problem. I better figure out what it was. If I hadn't figured out my issue that I messed up on for letter G and D, I would have picked that up eventually through this process. Okay, letter J, the space between 2 points in units. If I have 2 units, or 2 points, and I'm looking for the measure of the distance between those 2 points, okay, or the space between those 2 points, that is distance. And so distance is my last word, which works out pretty nice since the last word I have left in my list is distance. So that is going to be J, and that is our vocabulary review.